Welcome back to the Grateful Anglers podcast here in Windsor, Ontario. I'm John Bondi, and I'm here with my partner, John Milson.
Big John here. Yeah, guys, today we got a special guest on the show. A good friend of both of ours, Tom Giannotti. And guys, today we're here to talk about one of our favorite baits down here on the Detroit River, and that's the jig, the worm, and the minnow.
And we're going to be talking about these.
Yeah.
So, how long we known each other? 25, at least 25 years.
Longer than that, I think. It was going back to the old Rose City Bassmasters in 94, 93, 94.
Yeah, and Dom was my partner, man. He was my partner in Rose City Bassmasters.
I remember one time you guys were fishing at Mitchell's Bay Marina one time, and you had that small boat on a trailer with rollers. And you guys backed that thing up to the ramp, and that thing fell right off the trailer, and landed right on the ramp.
That wasn't me.
That wasn't you?
No, that was Ed Gagno.
That was Dominic.
That was me.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
The boat sitting on the ramp, and everyone's trying to
Wasn't my boat, wasn't
your boat.
I thought you were
that was Ed and his boat.
I think it was like a snowmobile trailer or something this thing was on, and it probably should have ended up on the 401 somewhere.
Yeah.
But,
I thought you were going to bring up the story about Dom the night before we stayed in Wallaceburg and we ate so much food that we got out to the first mile marker there out of Mitchell's Bay. We had to turn around.
Things took a turn.
Yeah, Dom's face started turning red, and we had to go back. But anyways, we did good.
Yeah. Well, today we're going to be talking about jigging and just a little bit about the tools to jig. And Dominic's one of the preeminent jig makers in this area. You know him as Dom's Custom Tackle. And we sell thousands of his jigs here at the shop. And Dom, why don't you just go over a little bit of how you got started into jig making? Because finding a quality jig with a quality hook that the paint doesn't chip, they're not everywhere, and you don't get rich off them. So you need a guy who really has love for his work. And Dom, tell us how you got started on making these jigs.
Well, it got started way back in the old Rose City Bassmaster days because we couldn't find any good tube jigs, so started making them with Gamakatsus for myself, and then other guys like John started getting them from me and that. And then when John opened up his store in Oldcastle, his storefront, he said, "Hey, can you make the walleye jigs?" Because I was providing John with jigs for jigging in the river with his clients. So I was talking to John.
Hold them up there. Show them.
John asked me to start providing jigs for him for his store. I said, I don't know if I got the capacity to do that. So we started slow, and then next thing you know, it's like the following year it just exploded.
Yeah.
The most important thing with a jig is if you hang that hook on your nail and that just slides off, like those old bronze hooks, the jigs, you go to the bait shop and the jigs are 25 cents back in the day. Those you can't. The hooks are so bad you can't even sharpen the things. So when you're looking for a jig, you want to make sure the hook is premium. If you got to sharpen the jig hook, it's not the jig for you. And on Dominic's jigs, he's using premium hooks, and that's so important when you're trying to get these walleye. It can be a little light biting sometimes. But tell us about how you've gone from just looking at jig hooks on the market and how you chose the hook that you use now.
Well, the reason why I'm choosing this hook, one, it's not as expensive as some of the other hooks out there. I use a lot of the Gamakatsus hooks and the mustads for the bass guys, but for the walleye ones, I'm finding these ones are awesome because they're a nice round bend on them. They're nice and stout, and they got a laser sharp point on them.
That's what I use.
Yeah. So I've been selling these because it keeps the cost down on them, even though they are fairly expensive to buy compared to the other hooks. It keeps the price down about almost 60 cents a jig.
And the nice thing, guys, about the days that I used to fish tournaments with Dom, I never ever had to bring a jig on the boat or a tube on the boat because this guy had a tackle bag the size of the table, and we always had your stuff on the boat, and it worked.
Way too much. Yeah. Weighed as much as both of us.
Oh yeah. I used to chirp him a bit and yell at him a little bit for having a little bit too much stuff on the boat. We had a little boat. It wasn't that big.
So have you ever, I noticed on a lot of your high quality bass jigs, you got a wide gap hook.
I do.
And those in the bass world are super popular, but have you ever tried a walleye jig with one of them wide gap hooks to see if you can increase the not necessarily the hooking ratio, but the holding and the bite?
On that, I haven't. The reason why, I don't know, it's got a 60-degree eye on it, so I don't know if it'll fall vertically.
Right. Yeah,
with
yeah.
that.
Yeah, a lot of the times with your jig, you don't. If it's not shaped right or the eyelet ain't coming out in the right position, it'll spiral on the way down and the way up, and then they're all twisted up. So
Yeah.
And that's one of the things. I mean, I get a lot of guys from Great Bear Lake. They're looking for big jigs, like 2 to 4 ounce jigs for fishing lake
lake
lakers.
trout, yeah.
And I got an 8/0 jig hook, but it's got a 60-degree, and they're saying that doesn't really work for
Yeah,
them.
and
that
often
well.
if you try to heat those things up and bend them and stuff like that, they're gonna snap a
Yeah,
lot
they're
of
too
times,
brittle.
So, yeah, these are premium. These are powder coated, right? I mean,
They're powder coated, baked.
They're
The eyes are epoxied on. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes in there.
And it's a family thing for
Yeah.
you. Like your wife does all the eyes on
my
them,
wife
right?
is just
Yeah.
like, I feel bad for her. She gets home from work and I've got thousands on the table and she's putting eyes on. She mixes the epoxy. She's got 5 minutes to
Yeah.
work with it, so she'll lay out 50 jigs, put the epoxy in each one, and then put the eyes on. Wait to 5 minutes, flip them over, do the other side, and then push them aside.
for the price that these cost, you're not getting wealthy off these things
No.
because of the work involved.
The work
Making a
involved,
quality jig, and that's why they're hard to find a good jig. That's why you got requests from dealers all over to carry your jigs because nobody wants to make them. I mean, if you try making them at your house, and you do the math, after a while, it's cheaper to come buy them somewhere. You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
So
Yeah.
to have a guy who's dedicated to quality jigs is awesome.
And the other thing too is, like I said, I've gone over to Dom's house, and I've gone down. He's always making his jigs in the garage, but I've gone down the basement, and his wife's got a TV table set up, and she's putting the eyes on them all. But the other thing too, I wanted to ask you, Dom, is over the years, we're all three of us are jiggers our whole life, and I've seen so many changes. Like I remember when I first started, even going down to Strictly Fishing, I remember when they came out with the football jig, and I thought, whoa, that was cool, and it worked. It was a great
Right.
jig. But then, you see so many different jigs over the years. There was a time we went right back to the round jig.
Yeah, but I still make a lot of ball jigs for certain people. They still want that.
Now, what do you find the advantages?
This one
with
here,
the-
I think it cuts the water a little bit better in the current,
Oh, okay.
so it'll stay a little bit more vertical instead of swinging.
I think a fish head like that has more likelihood of cutting straight through the current versus a ball, which
Right.
potentially could do just about anything down
Yeah.
there. You know what I mean? But definitely the trend on the Detroit River where we live is to go to the more minnow type, almost natural looking type head on it instead of a ball head. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I get almost no requests in my store here for ball heads anymore. Everybody wants the real fancy paint jobs and the powder coated stuff, but it's all about the different shape of the head now, and it seems to me the number one factor is it cuts the water and it
I
stays
think so.
straight.
Yeah.
Stays straight in the water.
And I like that. Like I find when I slow roll, this is a jig to go with. But I still buy some of Dom's round ones. When I get into like real heavy snap jig, sometimes I really like the round ones. I don't know if it.
You want to dirty up the water? Or the bottom
What's
of
that?
it? Dirty up the
Yeah,
bottom of it?
yeah. That's honestly what I think. Maybe it. But this is the way to go. Like I mean, 90% of my jigs are the new style, but I still do keep some of the round ones.
So what is you make how many sizes and what are percentage wise, like what's the best selling size
Okay.
for around here?
So I make from 3/8 ounce all the way up to 1 ounce, as John carries all of them in stock here. The biggest percentage I would say 3/4 and 1 ounce, and back in the years ago, you never sold anything over 3/4 ounce.
No, everybody,
Just-
a lot of the guys that are buying the 1 ounces, they're shore fishermen. They're chucking them out there and they're
Bouncing
snapping them back. But I've heard of guys like jigging like downtown in the deepest portions are going up to 2 ounces.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that they need a 2 ounce jig, but I've heard guys say that extra weight pounding the bottom attracts
Yeah.
fish. Now, I'm not sure I'm a huge believer in that, but I know guys that smoke them with the 2 ounce jig, and if you can
Yeah.
even find them, you know
It's
what
just-
I mean? But
yeah.
that's a lot of lead down there, and you need a bigger hook than what's on these two
For sure.
for going. But you look at it, it looks like a cannonball with a little worm coming off the bottom, and I'm not sure I'm into that, but some guys use them.
So some guys are. I mean, I've always kept my jigs above half ounce, but always below 5/8. So my preferred jig is a 5/8.
Same with me.
But you know, there's some old timers around. I remember I used to fish with Butch, and I used to fish with Rusty, and they would go as low as 3/8. And there's like, especially early in the year, there's days I would get overfished with that 3/8 jig.
I'll tell you what.
It's just like you say, it depends how active they are.
Remember Rick Parent, like he was probably the original jig maker around here. He made a fantastic jig. And all he offered, I think the only two he offered was 3/8 and 1.5 ounce, and we used to get them from him, and that's what we had to work with, and they worked.
Because he's an excellent fisherman.
Yeah.
Right? And so he can handle that current and stay vertical, but not everybody's an expert at walleye jigging, so you got to be able to cater to everybody.
Right.
Well, and there's days those guys with the 1 ounce jigs are out fishing us with our.
Yep.
Well, there's something to it. There is what it is. We don't know.
Yeah.
But
it's funny because you see most of the outer towners, because they're not used to the current down here, they're always looking for the 1 ounce jigs or 3/4 ounce. I was fishing with a friend of mine from Toronto last year. We were on his boat, and he's got a 1 ounce jig, and he's got a big Alaskan, so his boat and it's windy, so it was hard for him to control the boat. And I had a 5/8 jig. I couldn't stay vertical.
Nope.
So I put a 1 ounce jig on there, but I miss so many fish because you're not used to the weight of that.
One thing I do for myself is I'll go with the lightest I can get away with, but that doesn't really mean my customers can do it. I generally fish way shallower than everybody else, especially early in the year, because I'm trying to catch the bigger ones, which I found are in less than 25 feet. Well, I can use a 1/2 ounce easily if I'm less than 25 feet. But oftentimes, if the wind's blowing, the tail of the boat's swinging around, your buddy's not going to be able to use a 1/2 ounce. So it's it's all depending on the conditions. But I think he'll catch more with a lighter jig, possibly. I don't know. It could be in my head, but I feel awkward if I'm in 20 feet and I'm using a 3/4 or 1 ounce jig. It just doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? I want a more compact package down there.
I don't even have those on the boat. Maybe I should have some of those in my arsenal because they work. But I mean, like I said, the biggest jig you're going to find on my boat is 5/8, and the smallest is going to be 1/2 ounce. But nowadays when I go buy jigs, it's going to be 5/8.
We make a lot of plastics here at the Bondi Bait shop, and Dominic's gone, and he's made some custom colors of these jigs that match some of our custom new plastics, our laminates and stuff.
I'll see if I can put a little picture up here, guys, of how they team up with the jig. They look really nice.
Yeah, you come on down to the Bondi Fishing Shop and check us out. We got the new fishing regs that just come in. We're at 3796 County Road 17 in Maidstone, Ontario. But let's talk about other types of jigs too. I have a customer, and he never fails to show up without one of these Northland Whistler jigs on there. Now, I've never really used these. I don't know if you guys have had, but they got that little prop on there, and we're actually going to put this under the water, and we're going to see if this thing actually makes any kind of whizzing sound when it's jigging it.
We're going to do a little sound test, and we're going to show you right now.
That's right, and we're going to...
No, like right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Northland Whistler jig.
So yeah, Dom, like, how do people go about getting your jigs? I know how I get them. I come to Bondi Bait and Tackle, and he's got every color on the rainbow here that you make. But
yeah, I think John's got like 22 colors of mine, which I don't really like making that many.
But you're all across Ontario, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean Bondi Bait, of course, has got them here. Angling Outfitters in Woodstock carries my baits. Angling Sports in London also has my baits. We've got Cabin Creek in Chatham, and then I think the new Lake St. Clair Pro Tackle will be carrying my baits as well.
Now what about online? Can people order them online somewhere too? Or?
I really don't put them online because I don't have the production to do that.
Just your tubes.
I've got some online, but unpainted.
So like when you guys are getting ready for bed and this and that, and your wife is had it for the day, can people just show up at your house at like 10 at night?
No. So your better bet is come see one of the local tackle stores.
She has a problem with this?
Oh, just a little bit.
I always love picking on.
It's
Dom.
funny because the last couple of years, you won't believe how many calls I get from minnows. like literally 5 in the morning, 8 o'clock at night. My wife's going, "Guys are calling for minnows." Actually, I've had people show up
You got
with
minnows?
buckets coming up to the front door and ringing asking
No,
for minnows.
really?
I swear to God.
You don't have minnows?
Don't have minnows.
I've been telling everybody.
I don't have any. All
I've
I
been
do.
telling everybody to
No,
go.
I just because it says Dom's Custom Tackle, it shows up on Google search, and then people come there thinking I've got a whole tackle store.
So
there.
do not show up at Dom's house at 4 in the morning asking for minnows, because
You
you're
need
not
one-
going to be successful.
You need one of them those bass mailboxes. Put it right out the road. You can break every kind of bylaw
Exactly.
there is. You just put one of them huge bass mailboxes.
Do one of those, yeah.
Yeah. First
So-
come, first serve.
The only flaw I could really see in you, Dom, is you're a Maple Leafs fan.
Yeah, that's
No, I'm
that's a
joking.
sad story, man.
We've tried to beat it.
There's always next year. Remember that.
We've tried to
Yeah.
beat it out of them, and I mean,
We're a border city.
We are.
We're supposed to be Detroit fans, but
Well,
my
Yeah.
whole life, my whole family, Detroit. You know, this guy, man. We've tried
it's
to.
tough. It's pretty bad because my wife's from Michigan, and I converted her to be a Leaf fan.
That's-
how are the family dinners there
Oh,
when you
it's,
go see her in-laws?
Yeah, my mother-in-law and
Yeah.
I used to always battle, eh?
Oh yeah,
That's
because they were
hilarious.
all probably Red Wing
Well, at
fans.
least it's hockey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you did tell me she's a Tigers fan,
Oh yeah, huge Tigers
so that
fan.
makes up
Yeah,
for
yeah,
it.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're lucky to live in this area with all the like. I couldn't imagine living, you know, in the middle of Nebraska or somewhere where you had college football and that was it. You know what I mean? I'm glad that we have big teams. I mean, within a 4-hour drive of here, think of how many teams you
Oh, for
have.
sure.
I mean, we're in a great part of
We
the
had
country.
Toronto played in Columbus yesterday. There's a bunch of Toronto fans there because it's so close.
Yeah, it's
So
awesome.
we're lucky with, like John was saying, we got the best fishery in the world here. We've got
Yeah, we got everything here.
We've got
man.
like John Milson and I live like literally. John lives right on the Detroit River. I live a mile from the Detroit River, and I live like 15 miles from either Lake St. Clair or Lake.
Well,
Erie.
I don't live right on the river. I'm one of the cheaper houses across the
the
street from the river.
But I mean, you could throw
Yeah.
a rock and hit the river from John's house.
You
Yeah,
know what else
yeah.
we got? You know what else Windsor is? If you're not from around here, we are the pizza capital right
Oh.
here. I mean, where's your guys' pizza? You guys,
Yeah.
where do you guys?
Mine's Arcata. I love
Well,
Arcata.
right now, Big John is on a diet.
Oh, that's right.
Big John's losing
don't wanna
weight,
tempt you.
and I haven't had pizza since December.
You could have one of those cauliflower
Oh,
one.
no, it's not the same.
My wife would
miss
make
it.
you a vegan pizza.
No. I miss it a lot, but you know what? Back in my pizza, like you guys don't know this, but I was back in, oh man, I want to say 25 years ago. I was a pizza eating champ of Windsor at Charlie's, and I won it 3 times in a row. And I my record was 27 pieces.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was.
It's
Well,
almost like
you've
queen
had
size.
your lifetime pizza.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
you burned through it already.
But there's so many good places.
The other place, like Oven 360 for a little,
Oven 360.
for just a gourmet quick pizza. It's just
Yeah, my
fabulous.
buddy,
That's good.
My buddy Andre, he owns Armando's. That's one of my favorite. You guys
yeah.
check out Armando's there on Cabana Road.
Capri.
Oh man,
But Windsor, anywhere you go, basically.
If you're in Amherstburg, Golden Crust, guys, that's a hidden secret, man.
golden crust.
But all your Capris and all your Armandos, all your Naples, and there's so many. I'm not going to pinpoint to one, but
Let's put
Windsor is
Windsor
known.
style pizza.
Windsor pizza.
Nobody in Windsor goes down the frozen food aisle and gets a box out of the freezer. We don't do that here.
No.
We get the good stuff. So
and
anyways,
it's all about our shredded pepperoni.
you know what you
I'm
do?
gonna
And the
put
cheese.
I'm gonna
And
put
local
I'm gonna
cheese,
put a
too.
picture up of a Windsor style pizza right now, guys, for you guys to see here, and you guys will be like, "Oh my god!"
You know,
it's
we used to
local
put
cheese, too.
minnows on them until they got a little pricey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and it's too much now. So, anyways,
Hey, you know, you drive down Dougal and I see little billboards, voted number one pizza in Windsor. I'm thinking, everybody's number one here. Like, there's so many good pizzas.
Yeah.
But you know what? You guys are making me hungry. I'm on a diet. So let's not talk about pizza right now.
I got a question for you guys. So when you're jigging, do you use? We're gonna do a lot more jigging topics down the road, but do you guys use a leader to your braid? Some guys tie direct to the braid. Now my theory on that is no, because if you do enough jigging and you got customers and they're using the same rods every day, I've had customers when we tied direct, they get 100 yards of line out before they tell me they're snagged. The next thing you know, they snap it off, and there could be a weak spot at the spool. You lose all that braid. But if you have a little leader with a small swivel, not only do you keep the line twist down, but if you snag, you just break off that little end piece. You know, the most expensive part is the braid. So I would rather lose that little end piece, minimize my line twist, have clear floral on there than tied direct. What do you guys?
I use like a number 12 swivel
Yeah.
with like a fluorocarbon leader for sure. It's one line twist is, well, it's not as bad now with the braid, but the old days, like line twist is just terrible.
Yeah. We're going to get into some line choices that John's kind of making some changes. He's ahead of the curve here. We're going to talk down the road about his latest line change.
Yeah, but, and I do use a barrel swivel like Dom said. What'd you say number? I don't know.
I use number 12.
I don't know my sizes of swivels and hooks, but yeah, I use around the size number 12, which is basically really small.
Yeah.
I mean, the fish you're fighting here, guys, are under 12 pounds. If you get a 13 pounder, you know that's a trophy
I'm
fish.
telling you, you're gonna lay it.
But you know, it's I always go with probably, I want to say, anywhere from 2.5 to 3 foot leader, and a jig, and sometimes I go a little bit too long, and I only use a 5/6 rod, and sometimes I got to redo it because my barrel swivel. Like I don't have a line keeper on my
Right.
Beastmaster, and I use old rods too, guys. I'm old school. I use pistol grip. There's nothing. Don't go by what I do, because everything I do, I'm stuck in the past, man.
Pistol
But
grip.
it works
Yeah.
for me. Yeah, you still using the old Hank Parker?
That
pistol
went
grip?
out. Those went out with the Etzel. So yeah, we're getting a little warmer now, and it's going to be 50 and sunny today. It's going to be awesome out there. Guys are going to be getting an itch. I think ice fishing around here at least is done. Even though, I might be calling it a little early. Like it's the first week of February right now. We could get blasted in March. You never know.
Yeah.
But to me, it's looking like guys are going to be fishing around here in boats. Like back to it here very shortly. As soon as
First of
this,
March.
Don't get too jumpy. I got stuck in the ice one time real bad, and I want to ever do that again. So I'm not in that big of a hurry.
I'm
but-
starting to get guys from buddies of mine from Toronto area calling us, hey, can we start jigging yet?
Yeah.
And I
Oh
said,
yeah.
You're not
I
going
said,
to get
we-
much.
We're not going to get much. I said, you're going to have to wait. There's still ice coming down the river. And you know how March gets. It can get so unpredictable.
You want to go this time of year, troll the lake, or go out in Lake Erie and throw blade baits. I wouldn't fish the river in February. You go out there with a graph and start scrolling around, you're not going to see a lot. But you get just outside the river on both ends, you're going to find lots of walleye. You're staging, getting ready to pass through,
Oh, for sure. And we all have the itch for walleye, guys. Like, I'm ready to rock and roll too. And you'll notice if you come to Bondi's, he put some of his ice fish and stuff away. But for the guys going to Simcoe and stuff, if they need stuff, you can pull it out from the back
yeah.
room. And
Yep.
he's still got it. It's just,
Big John, let me ask you this. Have you ever hand lined in March?
oh, yeah.
It's good.
Hand lining right after ice out is generally what I do. And you know something? Years ago, I used to think, oh, you got to hand line the east end. When I say the east end, that's the mouth of St. Clair and the river, Detroit River, and that's the way to go. But as years have gone on, and I haven't had, like, I live at the other end of the river, so you get off work at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you just want to get over for a couple hours. Makes sense for me just to put in where I'm at. And those fish are in LaSalle too, right after ISO, and sometimes they're high, man. Like sometimes I'll go back in like 9-12 feet of water, and I'll almost be holding my shank in my hand. And sometimes those fish aren't even on bottom in the river. Like, when you see them on the graph, they're going to be 4 feet, 5 feet off bottom. And I think they're there warming up from the sun. Like those are the days right after ISO. I like to go, like those nice, warm, sunny days, and I feel like those fish are elevated. And
I've always found that once the ice is officially gone, and to me, third, fourth week of March is the norm, right? It takes about 3-4 days, about 3 days before we start getting them in mid-river. You know what I mean? It's just, you can go out, if you go out like 3 days after the ice out in mid-river, which is where I normally fish, you'll get 3, 4, 5, you know what I mean? But within like 2-3 days of that, they start coming in, you start getting your limits, if the weather cooperates, right?
And let's talk about this really quick before, I know we're taking up all your time here, guys, but let's talk a little bit about this. So the nice thing about the Damo's jig and anybody's jig that makes jigs is you can team them up with a worm or finesse minnow or a Bondi minnow. when is that changeover, and when do you start taking minnow off and just going strictly plastic?
I always start. You'll see guys arguing with us about minnow versus non-minnow. I always use my regular jig with the regular plastic and a stinger hook, and I'll tip it with a minnow until the water is 45 to 48 degrees. And then in the following week or two, if there's a cold front, I'll get back to that minnow. But early on, especially if it's dirty, 45 degrees, you start getting reports of guys using no minnow. You know, especially if it's balmy or
44, 45 degrees is the magic number. 46. I always lined it up with just before the smelts start running.
Yeah, you know, in the walleye spawn, about 80% of them spawn at 44 degrees.
Wow.
You know, I learned that. I went to college for aquaculture, and you'll get them spawning before that, and I've seen them spawning in May.
Mm-hmm.
But 44 degrees is the magic number, and I could never figure out why, when that surface temp is 44 degrees and you bring them up, there's eggs flying everywhere. And I'm like, how is it 44 degrees on the bottom? Well, one day I got invited to go out with the guys from Michigan that study the sturgeon. And they've done temperature readings in the main channel from the surface to the bottom. And due to all the mixing of the islands and just, you know, once you get in the mid-river, they told me there's only a half a degree difference in temperature from the surface to the bottom of the shipping channel.
Wow.
So that explains, if it's 44 on the top, it's 44 on the bottom. That's why they're all rolling over one another and spawning. That's how you know. So that's pretty accurate. And I wouldn't say that's the temperature at the head of the St. Clair River up by Huron. But once you get down this way and the water gets across them flats on St. Clair and it gets spread out and gets around Belle Isle and that, yeah, it's pretty well mixed.
And give the guys a little secret here. When do you switch over from the minnow, the plastic minnow, to the plastic worm?
All right, I'm going to get very technical on that answer. I really don't pay attention to that. I catch them on the bait fish early and the worm early. I catch them late. To me,
and I'm seeing some guys using the finesse minnow year round now. And I remember back in the day, finesse minnows weren't really a thing way back when, and we were using the worms from ice.
Yeah.
Oh, you know.
Now, somehow the worm became the deal, the brown worm around here. But then I don't know what decade, like that's all we used back in the day, right?
Yeah.
But then somehow that finesse made its way here, and it's taken off. So everybody seems to be making a split tail now, and our Bondi bait fish. The difference is they're thicker, they're durable, and they have a vertical tail like this instead of flat. So that's the main difference between ours. Is probably the durability of them. But finesse are just they're super popular around here, and they got like 100 colors of them. But the brown worm was the deal for so long, and it's like, you know what? Black with silver flake works, and royal blue works, and so everybody started branching away from that brown worm. But boy, that's what we started on, brown worm and a cheap ball head jig with a crappy hook.
So, anyways, just want to say thanks, Tom. And you know what? You're the first guy. You're the first guest on the Grateful Anglers podcast, and we caught him last notice. We were supposed to have somebody else on the show this morning who couldn't make it, but he will be soon.
And John calls me at 10 o'clock last night.
No, it was 8 o'clock.
Oh, it was 8 o'clock. He says, hey.
You better show up.
He goes, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, I'm going to London. I got to drop off a bunch of jigs, and then I got to go to Chow. And he goes, how about you meet me at Bondi's at 5:30 in Vaughan?
You deliver?
Yeah.
And Dom's got a full-time job too, guys. This is just
after
this
hours.
is just his other full-time job.
Yeah, he sells tools for a living, and he's a really good dude, and he knows everybody in this city. So.
And he used to be into reel repairs too. I don't
Not
know
anymore.
That, you know?
Nope. I'm working on
making that pronouncement.
He was trying to sell Big John that reel repair business, and I said,
I've got a young gentleman that's looking at possibly taking over that for me.
Well, if you
I just don't have the time.
Let me know, because I got a few reels that need fixed.
You know what?
Sure.
Anybody wants to do reel repair, you will have a solid flow.
Oh, you can put your business card right here.
Yeah. And even cleaning a reel. Find someone to take like a pen reel apart or something and just clean it, oil it, and get it ready. Nobody does it.
Nobody
does it. And
I
you
mean,
would
it's. I used to do like, actually, all of John's client. He had one of his customers, one of his sponsors, used to send me like 20 reels at a time.
Yeah, but it's time consuming, and if you got a family and that, but what you need is a young individual who, you know, likes to get his hands dirty in there, and you can have a great business. Next thing you know, he's rigging boats and all this other stuff. So if you know anybody out there who wants to get into reel repair, we can help him get started, and you know, he could possibly have a career out of it. I mean, you could take to the sport shows and have a reel drop-off booth, and I mean, next thing you know,
how about all the guides that need to get their reels serviced every year? Like that's a big job.
Yeah. It is. Like I used to, like John, I used to do all his reels. Then his friend Kevin Long, he used to do all his reels.
Yeah.
Did a bunch for.
So cheers, guys. We really love you. Sorry we haven't put out a video in the past month. I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys. I came down with COVID there, and it kind of gave me a few difficulties over the month. But I'm back at her now, and I've been COVID free for a few weeks. I still don't have my voice back totally. But yeah, anyways, I know everybody's had COVID, but it gave me a few difficulties. But we're good now.
You know, I want to comment on your ensemble there. The nice, your sweater matches your hat. Did you pick that hat to look good on camera?
No, actually. So I came here last week, and I bought probably about $60 worth of lures that I didn't tell my wife about. And then
you do that.
She said, "Let's go to Great Lakes Crossing," which is over in the States. And we went, it's bad. So we went to Bass Pro, and I gave her
hide things from your wife.
I gave her the puppy dog eyes, and she said,
"That works."
She goes, "Well, get this." She goes, "That's your Valentine's Day gift," and then get this, and So anyways, I bought some lures over there and stuff as well, and sorry, babe, you're gonna know that I spent $60 in the morning that day at John's too. But
my wife told me absolutely do not buy flowers for Valentine's Day, which is basically code for you better have flowers.
Oh no, because we did some shopping there because I was down for the whole month. We really didn't do much. So that was our day out, and we did some Valentine's Day shopping for each other. But you're right, it is a trap. She's gonna probably get a card.
I've been married long enough. I know what that code language is, right?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, they deserve it though.
Oh, absolutely.
They put up with all our stuff, our fishing, hunting.
Maybe that'll be a show in the future. The Fisherman's Wife. We'll bring them on the show, and
we can just go fish and let them do it.
Yeah.
They'll be ripping on us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh.
Well, thanks, guys, for joining us. Come on down, 3796 County Road 17 in Maidstone. And we're here Monday to Saturday, 8 to 4:30. We got the live bait, they got the jigs, got the trolling stuff. Come on down and just talk fishing. Even if you don't spend nothing, we're happy to give you some tips.
Yeah, and Johnny's got a bunch of new stuff in here, too. So I know it's a little bit off topic for all you trollers out there. He got some really wicked colors in on the flicker minnows, the husky jerks, the bandits. You guys got to get down here and check out what he's got. His prices are amazing on them. And don't forget the Slim Shadies.
Slim Shadies custom
Slim
baits.
Shadies, like my favorite trolling bait, and just a great guy. I'm trying to get him on the show sometime. And but anyways, that's off topic. We love yous all. Be positive. Sorry, it's probably going to be about a 40-minute video. But yeah,
That's
thanks,
good.
Tom.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming.
I appreciate it.
Take care.